Wednesday night, late night happy hour. Cofield in. Soren Petro is here in his Wednesday slot. We welcome in more of the Midwest audience. Appreciate Petro turning some of his listeners on Cofield and Company and the Cofield and Company late night happy hour. We've had some just great additions to the chat room, Petro. Appreciate that so much from you, my friend. Been wonderful.
I think I know where you're going with that.
There was a pretty intense fudge you battle going back and forth between a bunch of the chatters and then some of the hosts. So we like it. We like the flair. We like the edge. We like the angst. So how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, man?
I'm good. I'm not happy with our super contest results last week. It was a weird week. This is what you're going to hear from well, you hear this often from people when they make picks and they're public. Man, I was terrible in the super contest, but in game I was brilliant. And I actually was. It was like we went 1-4 in the super contest, and then I'm a dog player. So when I start playing the games during the games, right, and teams fall behind, I'm a sucker. And I think this is really a square way to go. But I start playing comebacks, and like of course, every comeback that I picked, everyone came through, which is awesome. I won some money, but our super contest picks were dreadful. And there were a couple that we weren't even in the game. We weren't even close. What were we doing with the Eagles? What has happened to the goddamn Eagles?
So I would disagree with you that we weren't in the game because it was Eagles -1. And at one point they had the ball, I believe, in Dallas territory, knocking on the door of the red zone, down 24-19.
Eagles-Rams.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about, right? Yeah. Eagles-Rams.
You said Cowboys, so not Cowboys.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Eagles-Rams.
We also did have the Cowboys, but with a number.
And I think we had the right side. I think we had the right side on the Cowboys, right? Like, I think we got away with, as you pointed out, although I felt pretty good about the Bronco pick afterward, and you're like, yeah, that was a trash pick. Like, week 1, we had the Broncos +2.5. They lose by 2 to the Titans. And I'm feeling good because overall, the score is, the Broncos are always right there. But, going back, I looked at it. I looked through a couple of different things, and I'm like, you know what? All those missed field goals, that was like a big part of it. Plus, I think Vic Fangio is clearly a moron. So I'm not sure what was going on there. So, like, we went 4-1 the first week, and we didn't deserve it. But we went 1-4 this week, and I don't think we deserved it. So I think we're probably where we ought to be, sitting at 5-5, which is not good enough to win it. Right? I think you got to be
9-1 is first place right now. And remember, in the super contest, they actually do quarter polls. And so they give out every quarter of the season. They give, first 3 quarters of the season, they give out money awards. So to get in the running for that quarter poll, got to start winning. Probably got to go like 8-2.
But is the third quarter poll like those 4 games, or is it who's leading at that point?
You know what? I got to look. If they break it down, like if they do separate standings for each quarter. I think it's who's leading at that point. So if you get out to a hot start, you can win 2 or 3 of the quarters.
Well, that's bullshit because I own the third quarter. I'm a third quarter guy, and we're not going to get credit for that. Oh yeah, absolutely. Weeks 9 to 12, I own it. Like it's my sweet spot, So it's going to happen. No, but listen. So like the Cowboy game, I think we had the right side, and we just lost, right? Some mistakes, some kind of they can happen or not happen. You play that game 10 times, I think the Cowboys cover 7 or 8. How many times do you think they cover?
I don't know, man. I'm lost on the Cowboys. They're so uneven throughout the game, and I don't understand what's happening with their defense. Their defense was just awful. Both of those, I have no good read on the Falcons. And
no. You have a great read on the Falcons. This is why we played it right. We were morons to have the Falcons week 1. We need to get the hell away from the Falcons.
I'm back on. My point is, I have no read because I want the Falcons again this week.
Because the Falcons are a tease. They're a tease. They make you think that they're good. I said this to you like when we were talking about the games. Everyone goes, oh, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. Yeah, Falcons. I'm on. Except for Quinn sucks. Like it was Kyle Shanahan. We have enough precincts reporting since the Super Bowl that they have no Kyle Shanahan and they haven't pissed a drop, right? So, I mean, they've had a bunch of picks. They've been able to solidify whatever they want to solidify. They've had time. Thomas Dimitroff was a guy who helped build the team that got to the Super Bowl. Did he forget football? No. I mean, Dan Quinn was great with Kyle Shanahan. But like, how can you be a defensive coach and suck on defense?
It's all Raheem Morris's fault. It's his fault.
Well, Raheem Morris is taking the bullet.
He is taking the bullet.
But it's not – listen, I've heard some theories. I know some people around the league, and I've heard some theories about why they were so bad early on last year. But that doesn't apply. If that was fixed last year, then it should be fixed this year as well. So this is a whole new set of problems. Listen, we were on the right side of the Cowboys. I don't care what anyone says. Anyone is like, well, Falcons are leading by – I know, but that's not how games are played. I think Mike McCarthy's a better coach than that. Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than that. And I know he ended up with 450 and, all the numbers and everything. I think the Cowboys were the side on that.
But, the other thing from a research standpoint, the Cowboys came into the game beat up. And I think we got thrown off a little bit. As the week went along, Tyron Smith got worse and worse and worse with his neck. That line is not good right now. They're without Lyle Collins, so now they're without potentially both of their tackles. They're a bottom 5 offensive line, but then the great thing is fourth quarter they're moving all over the field. So,
right, but no doubt, and I think we may have got caught because what did the game go off at? It went off.
It went off
-1.
The last I saw was Cowboys 2.5.
Oh, I think you sent me Cowboys -1.
No, I don't know if it ever got that low. Down the stretch, who the hell knows? But I know there was a lot of action steaming towards the Falcons.
Yeah, and we had to put in
we put in 4.5 because
we put in 4.5. And listen, and to me, like that is one of the things that's one of the negatives about when you got to put your bet in is we don't get the value of watching line play and watching. If you think you can figure out who the sharps are and watching that's reality. I think the Cowboys are definitively the better team. I think they may be a bit of a tease. Last year they had this incredible point differential and weren't that good record-wise. So I do think that there's some flaws in what the Cowboys are doing. All right, but I think they're definitively the better team. I have no problem losing that game. And I don't have a problem losing the Eagles game. They crapped a lot of things away early, and I know they have issues, and you have to reevaluate and you have to readjust. But, I said this last week, you don't do all this work in the offseason and then go, okay, I throw it all out the window because of the first one, right? And so, yes, we get to pick any 5 games we want. Yep. Right. So NFL games.
But the numbers are set on Wednesday. So there are times when you pick a game on Wednesday and the line movement is all against you. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh boy, this is 3 points away from where I picked. Uh-oh.
Yeah. So listen, I think to me, I don't mind the Eagles pick. And I still am curious for the Eagles because one of the things we're gonna find out about both Dak Prescott and we're gonna find out about Carson Wentz because a lot of taking sacks and a lot of avoiding pressure is on the quarterback. If you hold the ball all day, you're not good, right? And then we bring it back to the teams that we cover. Kansas City Chiefs guard to guard. Go ahead, tell me who's guard to guard for the Chiefs right now.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's my point. It's Kelechi Osemele who's been given up on by the Raiders, right? And who everybody loved in week 1 when they were running the ball. They're like, oh, he's so nasty, he mauls people. And then he jumped off sides about 38 times against the Chargers. It's Austin Ryder, who was released by the Cleveland Browns, and it's Andrew Wiley, who was released by the Cleveland Browns. That's guard, center, guard for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have invested in their tackles. Mitchell Schwartz has not been the Mitchell Schwartz of old, and Eric Fisher's been beaten. Their offensive line hasn't been good. But Patrick Mahomes, who runs a 4.72 or 4.75 40, not a 4.4, right? Don't let racism creep in here and think because, he's half African-American that somehow he runs like a track star. He doesn't. He's not as fast as Alex Smith was. But he has great spatial awareness, knows when to eject on the pocket, and knows when to get rid of the ball. And that's what the great quarterbacks do. And so he saves his offensive line a ton. And so, yes, do we need to reevaluate their lines? Yeah. Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz don't have that same kind of ability. You have to reevaluate. But listen, our mistakes were not there. Where were our mistakes?
I think Detroit was a mistake.
I think it was awful.
Up 14-3, and then they don't even compete the rest of the way. And every effort to come back in the game fizzled. So that one sucked. We were right on the Miami game, even though it took a late touchdown to get the cover. I like Miami all week. That was my best play. Who cares, right? It's only one win.
I love Miami.
And then We wavered. You know, we wavered on the Lions and the Giants, and the
And
Giants were right there the whole game. Yep, and we picked the wrong one.
But the Giants were crapping in their hat too. Like I think there's a little bit of
also quality. It's also quality competition. Is Chicago good enough with Trubisky to be blowing people out? And I think we were getting 5.5 in that one.
Right, and I think we could have won that game outright. And honestly, had I been in Vegas, I'd have had one bet on the Giants money line and 3. So I'd have taken 75% of my money and taken it with the spread, and 25% of my money I would have put it on the money line, looking for the Giants to win outright. And clearly, the outright win was not really ever that. They got to the 10, right? So it was in play. You know, the Patriots on the money line were in play. They got to the 1 yard line down 5, but it was like one play from, or maybe it was the 2 yard line where it was 1 or 2. Anyway, there are a number of different spots like that. But, you know, so for me, like the Giants, we should have been on the Giants. I said go with the better quarterback, and I still think Matt Stafford's a better quarterback, but the Lions defense sucks, and Matt Patricia's a train wreck, and I think you got to fade the Lions now here moving forward, because I think that was it. That was their last chance. Had they won that game, they might show some balls. But, like, Matt Stafford came out of the gates on fire. Matt Stafford was on pace for, like, a 40-touchdown season in a big year. And so I was buying into a little bit to that. And I think, listen, you listen to everybody nationally, the Lions are everyone's darling. And it turns out they're just a dysfunctional franchise. And now we're hip to it. So's Vegas. So are the spreads. And we should have been on it faster. But I actually think the Lions, Kenny Golladay being down hurts them. Oh, yeah. I don't think that's getting enough run.
Also, their defensive backfield is beat to shit, and then Jeff Okudah is just trying to get in the league, and he's lost right now. So his
which is unacceptable. Which is unacceptable when you're picked that high.
At the number 3 pick, he should be at least somewhat ready to go, but he might not be 100%. So
he might not be, but that's also on Patricia and his staff, which is another reason like you bet coaches. And really,
but without a training camp, should even a number 3 pick be held to the same standard as they've been in years past?
No, not to the same as they've been in years past, but they should be held to the same standard of those around them that were picked in the same draft.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I think Patricia, they got to pull out of this pretty quickly. They're not gonna let him shit away like 7 games before pulling the plug on this thing.
I will say this: there's no reason to fire anybody in season.
No.
I mean, only if you get to the point. Like, there's no tickets to sell. Like, what are you accomplishing? And so you bring unless you think you've got some hot coordinator, but if you have a hot coordinator, you're not shitting the bed on that side of the ball, and so no.
Ryan.
Yeah, but no preseason. Like, I'm not buying that for a second because nobody had any preseason. Right? I had an argument with Adam Schefter on my show this week because he comes on each week with us, and like I was asking him question after question after question. He's like, well, no preseason. Oh, both teams in every game had no preseason, no OTA, no minicamp, right? Everybody had to adjust. Now, I'm with you. Some people might be like, hey, you got a really good coach. He might screw it up, and you say, okay, when we get back to normal, he'll be fine. But stop with like we excuse one team, but the other team, it doesn't count? Like bullshit.
How did the arguing go with Schefter? How does he take it?
He takes it fine. I started kind of getting a little. I ramped up the level of like. But did you hear it?
No, I didn't. I don't think that's a name drop. I think he's just mentioning a good guess that he had in an argument. Now I wanted to strangle him.
Hey, listen, call it a name drop, call it whatever you want. I mean, he's the leading story breaker in the NFL, so he's on my show, and I'm quite proud of it.
Yep, I'll name drop all I want later on. No, we did an interview with him because he's not one of our insiders, but we got him like maybe a month into the pandemic, and I broached the question like, hey, is the NFL going to get behind some uniform policy and not have 25K fans at some games, 35 at others, 0 at others? And he just went into this whole like guilt trip thing, trying to lay it on me. And he's like, listen, it's a pandemic. You got to do what you got to do. It is what it is. I'm here in New York where we've had all these deaths and, maybe it'll happen to Vegas at some point. And I was like, you motherfucker. Like, you know what? And I didn't say it to him, but I was like, one, hey, dickhead. And believe me, we're going to get to the whole New York thing in a little bit. My parents live in New Jersey. They're 100 years old. They could die any day now. So, yes, we're aware of what's going on in New York. And as it turned out, yeah, it did hit Vegas. We're the most devastated from an economy
yeah.
anywhere. So this finger wagging thing, I was like, get out of here. So I don't know if he turned on and he got all mad at you or something.
No, he really didn't. And to be honest with you, I mean, I think doing the radio spots is a new thing for him. I just think he's done it. And, sports talk radio is opinion based, right?
Yep.
I got people.
We're going to push back.
I got people bitching at me because I'm not like cheerleading right now on the Chiefs because I'm pointing out some of the mistakes, right? That comes with the territory when you're like, hey, guys made these mistakes. No, I think they know a little more about football than you do. Well, okay, then don't not touch down a guy who picked off the pass, right? Like Cole Hardman didn't touch a guy down. I got people going, I think they know what they're doing better than you. Okay, whatever. Fanboy, go get your pom-poms, jackass, and go stand in line for 4 hours to try to get an autograph at the Foot Locker in a week, okay? We're here. I've said it before. We may not do 500 level sports talk, but it ain't intro to sports talk either, jackass. So come ready to have a discussion or get the F out. But listen, by the
way, this line down here is a reference to the Chad Dukes thing with Rappaport.
Yeah, no, he hasn't. And like I said, and Adam actually took it. Like I kind of, I took it up a level is what I'd say. I just like, hey, like you hit me with the same thing. And I was like, all right, listen, both teams in every game we're going to talk about didn't have an off season. I was saying like, I'm not going to listen, and he kept going and he did it. No, Schefter, he took it. He was class, kept going. Interview was great. And, he's an information guy more than he's an opinion guy. He's got more connections. And so, part of that, listen, I'll be blunt. Part of that's on me. And it's one of the things I try to do is like to work just to get a little under the covers radio thing. I got to figure out where's his comfort zone and how do I make him shine, right? My job is not to make anyone who comes on my show look like shit.
I argue with them and try to embarrass them.
Right. I got to find the way because if they suck, I shouldn't have them on my show. So it's there. I got to find that rhythm with him. We did like 7-8 weeks with him last year. I got to find the rhythm with him and where's his spot where he can shine. That's my job as the play-by-play guy in this and him, the color analyst, right? My job is not to make him look bad. My job is to find where he can shine and then put the light on that part of it. So that's what we're working on.
Yeah, so that's a Rappaport reference in that comment by Brady. I don't think Schefter's ever big-timed and dropped out. He did in 98. I never forget. In 98, during an interview, he did belch during the middle of an interview, which I won't forget. But he was not very mature back then, so he was kind of being a child.
Have you ever done middays? If you've done middays and have to eat your lunch during the show, I guarantee you that's happened.
Yeah, it's weak, though. It's weak. Back off the mic. Back off the phone. Back off the phone. I have no patience.
Sometimes they just run
I'm less tolerant than ever. Like there are times if you see me in a break, and it doesn't happen often, but if I feel like someone did not bring it during an interview, one, I will for a second be introspective and be like, all right, did like we had an interview today. I was like, was that me or like why did that not work? And then I start ramping up and I'm like, God damn it. Like that was 12 minutes we wasted of the audience's time.
Was it you in the end? Was it you or was it the guest? And who was the guest?
It wasn't me. I won't mention who the guest is.
See, that's bullshit because I just flat out gave you.
It's money related.
Okay, never mind then. That's fine.
Yeah, I got to be careful.
Got to pay the bills, brother. Got to pay the bills. I get that, man.
You either. My guess is that no one picked it up and that it was fine, but I have a certain standard.
Hey, I got a lot of shit to pay off, so I ain't never hosing any sponsor. So
yeah, got to be careful on that one. Very careful. Was there anything else from last week you wanted to hit on? Was there anything else we considered that we
so what do we win?
What happened? What for the overall prize? What for the super contest?
Yeah.
I don't know what the first prize is. I have to look at.
No. What game did we win, Jack?
Oh, what game did we win? The Dolphins.
Yeah, we won the Dolphins. We were all over. I don't mind the Cowboy loss. I don't mind the Eagle loss. The Lion loss was shit. That was a bad pick. And what was our other loss?
My memory's failing me. So did you mention the Eagles loss?
I did. I've just blocked the whole thing out. I think the other one was a disaster like the Lions. Hang on.
No, it was a disaster. It was the Texans. They did not even compete.
That was a disaster.
Texans and Ravens.
Although they had the ball down, what did we get, 7 or 7.5?
7.
They had the ball down 14, I think turned it over and going in and turned it over. But no, that was not a good pick. The Ravens were definitely the pick there. I will say this. What we did wrong was we picked the wrong game out of our pool because we talked about the Giants, which we mentioned. I talked about the Raiders. And we didn't.
I missed on that one because I haven't bet the Raiders. I bet against the Raiders 3.5.
You want to know why? Because Adam Hill's in your ear saying the Raiders suck. He's like acting like they're going to be a 4-win team. And I think it's because he's too close to the trees to see the forest. And we got to get Adam's evaluation of the Raiders out of our head because the Raiders against the Saints was the game of I think it was the best bet of the week.
Wow. Okay.
Well, no, I mean, this is hindsight, right? I didn't say that beforehand. They were on my list. But I'm like, hindsight is like, the Saints are like, don't you think the Saints took on water? They're like, Breeze looks bad.
Yeah, it's easy to see now. I mean, so some of the glaring problems, I didn't realize how few weapons they have aside from Michael Thomas.
Exactly.
The rest of their receivers, Emmanuel Sanders is a shell of himself, and whoever the Smith kid is, the Traquan Smith kid is. And the other one, this will be the 7th time I rant about it. I like Sean Payton, but the personnel decision to pay Taysom Hill $8 million a year and just piss away that money for 2 carries and to be a decoy as a receiver, like when you get thinner depth-wise, that $8 million means a lot. You got to have some other weapons.
They think he's going to be the next quarterback. Okay,
he's not that. They're full of shit, man. They know he's not.
I agree totally, but they paid that, and they not only did that. Sean Payton, and I can't believe the NFL hasn't busted him on it, talked after the draft about how they were talking to what they were hoping were free agents. They were done in the draft. Draft's still going on. They're talking to college kids, which you're not supposed to do till the draft's over. And the quarterback from Mississippi State is like, well, we already got a deal with this team. And so he trades back into the draft to draft the guy. He tells the whole story, and it's to like get another Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
And he tells the whole story on a radio spot. And I can't believe, and you're like, and then the league's wondering why he's not wearing his mask. Can we mention that $1.75 million in fines, $500,000 to coaches, and $1.25 million to teams because coaches can't do what everybody else in this country is asked to do? I'm not going to get sidetracked on the mask, but like how is Sean Payton on Monday night never even once trying to put the mask on? Like, do you think he gives a shit about the rules? Are you stunned that Bounty Gate happened on his watch?
No, he's a dirtbag. He's definitely a dirtbag, and somehow he's gotten away with it, even in spite of freaking Bounty Gate. Yeah, he can be slimy.
Listen, I've heard some fun stories about him. Some fun stories I can't tell.
Sure.
But I also tell you that Greg Williams, who's a guy from just north of KC, tons of work for charity. He gets a bum rap. The Bounty Gate shit went on everywhere around the league. Everybody did it. He's the guy who got busted. Not excusing it. It's wrong. But he's the guy who got made example of. But I will tell you, Sean Payton's a fun guy to talk to. I will tell you that. Yeah. He's a fun guy to talk to, man. And he can win football games.
Do you think the league goes next level? Because trying to discipline guys on the mask, because the fines outside of Mark Davis is probably like, God damn it, $250,000. I don't know about the cash in yet. The rest of the coaches are laughing at it. I actually, if the NFL is really serious about it, I announced during the week, you know what? You have the mask off. It's a sideline misconduct penalty, 15 yards. So, and the officials should wait to a key moment, like a big third down conversion, and like, flag, bring it back, like put on the goddamn mask. It ain't that hard.
I agree.
Now, what about the flip side of it? There have been a lot of people who have said, why do they have to wear a mask if everyone else on the sideline is tested and they're tested constantly? Why do they have to wear the mask? By the way, I will answer my own question in a second, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I'm assuming your answer is going to be the same because the virus has a 4-day incubation period, and so even if you have a rapid test, you don't know when the virus is going to come full circle and you're going to be contagious. That's the biggest reason why you're supposed to be wearing it. But if Sean Payton's not wearing it now, do you think he's wearing it during the week?
No.
Like when the cameras aren't on, do you think they're supposed to be? It is an NFLPA and NFL agreed upon rule that all staff in the building at all times, game, practice, meeting, whatever, will wear the mask. If he's not wearing it on Monday Night Football, and the NFLPA and NFL signed this deal to protect their players, to keep them healthy and ready to go, If he's not wearing it on Monday Night Football, do you think he's wearing it at practice? Like, come on. I mean, that's the bottom line. But listen, the virus, there's so much that's unknown. There's an incubation period to it. He's had it, so I'm sure he thinks he's immune to it, but it's about infecting somebody else. I mean, there's just – listen, here's the bottom line. Like, this is the problem. We've said this a couple of times. It's one of my pet peeves is like, I don't give a shit what the rules are as long as we all play by it, right? Once you set the rules, everybody's got to play by it. And this country is filled with people who think the rules only apply to everybody else.
The other reason I would, make coaches wear masks, and I'm talking about college on up to the NFL, I don't trust them. They are creatures of habit, and if they think they're being controlled, they're going to do what they want. And the stuff that came out after Monday night, I don't know if you saw it, but John Gruden with his last question of the post-game press conference is like, yeah, I had it, and then just walks out. Like he had coronavirus at some point. Yeah. So then you start to think, like, wait, when did you have it? Should you have been public with that for the optics? Did you tell everyone on the team? Like, what is going on here? And don't even get me started with college because we've seen more games get postponed, and the college coaches and schools are hiding shit. What's happening with BYU is ridiculous. I wouldn't trust BYU as far as I could fucking throw the whole school and all 35,000 people who go there. They are. That is, you can't trust anything that goes on there. It is a secret society. Sorry if that's offensive, but people know who followed that program over the years. It is not to be trusted. And they got a bunch of shit going on. They have positive tests. They won't tell you how many positive tests. They just announced, one of their dudes is out. The quarterback said 2 days ago, they got together and had a little gambling party. So some positives came out of that. There's going to be
no. That's against the rules. That didn't happen.
Exactly. There's going to be honor.
That didn't happen.
Well, they'll say 42 guys are out, not because of COVID, but because of honor code violations, or that, some black dude on the team was soaking. So only he gets suspended for having sex. So, which is actually a true story. Years ago on the basketball team, they actually had a guy suspended. Listen, I don't know if Jimmer Fredette was a virgin throughout college, but he had the opportunity to basically fuck 500 blonde women, a year. But it was actually one of their African-American players got an honor code violation for having sex. And it was actually the claim was it was soaking. Do you know what soaking is?
No, I have no idea.
Basically putting your dick into a woman and just sitting there. Like, it's not sex. It's just sitting there. It's dangerous territory. Just stay out. I have established that I am a prick. I often call any battle between UNLV and BYU good versus evil. And, of course, we're good.
Good as UNLV. Yeah.
Of course. The South is good. The North is bad.
I like that. Yeah, so
there was a lot there to unpack.
There's no response. I mean, I don't even know. Where do I go? I got nothing. You nailed it. The
bottom line is a lot of coaches are not to be trusted because they've already been in the listen, there's a football culture. It went on in the NFL for a long time. I think it's cleaned up a little bit. All the teams had fixtures in the past. College football's been worse forever. The only thing that matters to them is winning, and it's win at all costs. So you think there's some virus that they may not believe in? They may actually be anti-maskers and COVID hoaxers. You think some virus is going to stop them? You think they're going to follow all the rules? They're going to give you all the information?
So let me say this. I had Bob Glauber, our NFL insider from New York Newsday, on today, and I said, I think the scary part is the coaches. I think the players will do better. He goes, what are you talking about? Players go out more? I said, per capita? No. Like, will you see more coaches out? I said, or will you see more players out than coaches? Yeah, because there's with a practice squad, there's 61 of them versus 10, 12 coaches, whatever, right? I'm like, have you ever been, I asked him, I said, you ever been to the Senior Bowl? You ever been to the NFL Combine? You ever gone out to a restaurant or a bar around there at that time? Oh, shit. Let me tell you about the coaches getting out and about, okay? So there's plenty of stories, legendary stories. There are reasons why guys don't end up with head coach's job. And you're like, why didn't this guy get a job? Why didn't this guy get a job? Yeah, well, let me tell you about the shit that goes down when they're, away from a game, but kind of at an event and they're all around there. So, yeah, I think the biggest risk to infection in a team is actually the coaches, because I think the players are so subservient. So maybe that's not so obedient to what the coaches are told, and they actually do value their bodies. They work really hard. And while there's some of them that want to get out and get after it, I mean, you can have some cocktails at home. You can smoke some weed at home, right? You can do all that shit at home. And if they're all tested, like, do I think there aren't 8 players getting together at somebody's house and there's drinks and weed going around? No, but they are all tested. Like prowling around town, I would look up from the players for where that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah. Coaches like to play the field. So we know plenty of coaches, and it's come out publicly. And the crazy thing with coaches, we're talking college football, NFL, college basketball. They don't stop either. They're banging away on the side until they're like 65. And we got Bo Ryan, we got Jim Boeheim was like, I got to go younger. I mean,
he got married though. He dated a girl and got married. Let's not throw Jim Boeheim in here.
Well, but he did. Did he not make? Was he divorced for a long time and then found the younger lady, or was that some sort of transition kind of midstream where it's like, let's upgrade?
Listen, I got nothing negative to say about Coach Boeheim.
All right,
100%. All
right.
Where's it? Hang on.
I'll bet you as we transition out of football talk, exactly.
Nothing negative. Nothing negative.
That's the difference. When you lose all the time, I got lots of negative stuff to say about some of the dirtbags who've coached the Rutgers program.
Oh, trust me, I got lots of folks that are starting to complain about Coach Boeheim, but I'll ride till he dies. He's done enough.
Let's get back to opinionated Petro, because I really want some insight from the local side of this. And this, I find this discussion fascinating. We hit on it last night, and everyone just started screaming at each other because, and I love Ryan McKinnell, he's great, but I want your perspective.
Well, he clearly needs a life because every time I turn around, he's like sending us a message.
he likes to send stuff. So we got a male versus female dynamic going.
That worked out well, yeah.
And in the sports media,
I'm
trying to
scroll up a little bit.
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I'm going to trying to figure out if it's a bit, if it's part of the bit, or there's some real issues here. So yeah, the headline is buried in the Jason Whitlock versus Katie Nolan feud. Interesting topic, difficult to discuss. If you can see here, I'll enlarge it. We'll give you the backstory of how the last week has gone with males versus females in the media. So you got Maria Taylor even going further back than this. She got attacked by or ripped by Dan McNeil, former Chicago talk show host, who said that she looked like she belonged at the AVN Awards because of her outfit, her leather outfit at Monday Night Football. She then messed up her NBA awards ballot, left Anthony Davis off the first 3 teams. She said it was an oversight. Doug Godley, one of your buddies, came in and said, you know what, why does she even have a vote?
Right.
She fired back, and she's like, well, I played basketball, I played college sports, I played volleyball, I covered the NBA. Gottlieb's original point was, hey, she's been on the beat for all of a year, which is that's a really deep discussion about who deserves a vote and who doesn't. I would make the argument that the majority of columnists around the country don't deserve to vote on much because I don't think they're day-to-day guys. And I know certainly like for the
talk show host,
I'm not sure. I think every case is different. If UNLV football is going on, do I deserve a Heisman vote? No. Because guess what I'm doing all day? UNLV football. I'm not watching every goddamn game. And I'll admit that, but most people won't admit that. And then they're not watching games all day. They don't go back and watch games. Like, who's doing that overnight?
What about a poll vote?
It depends, man. It depends. But here, from Gottlieb's point, like,
wait a minute. Let's stay with the subject for a second.
What I was going to say is, because we see it all the time in the polls, we see weird voting in the polls, in the college football and college basketball polls, and you're like, okay, are they paying attention? Did they make a mistake? Because it gets pointed out, it's charted, pretty closely. Like, is that acceptable from Maria Taylor? Like, sorry, I made a mistake. I don't know if it is or not.
Well, listen, sorry I made a mistake is at least honest.
Right.
But should she have a vote next year? No. Like, so there's like many layers to this discussion here. All right. So first of all, I asked you, should a talk show host, right? Me and you were talk show hosts. Should they have a Heisman vote?
Some should.
Why do you say that?
Others should not. I think you have to prove that you actually follow the game and you're watching college football all Saturday. That you are mostly clearing out your Saturdays to really do your job.
Okay. So I don't even think you know this. You know I have an AP college football vote, right?
Yes, I know. You went on freaking Feinbaum and argued with him because he tried to pull a fucking who are you thing
Right.
Believe me, that old jackass doesn't watch anything outside of the SEC and maybe some games.
Yeah, and it was because I had Clemson number one,
Right.
and not Alabama, and I was the only guy that had Clemson number one. I didn't follow the herd and put Alabama number one, although I did when Clemson narrowly escaped against, I don't know if it was the Syracuse game, this is a couple of years ago, or where it was. They had some game, and they had a couple of rough ones in a row, and then Alabama was impressive. Alabama roared by, and I moved Alabama to one and had Clemson at two. And people have said to me, don't you wish you kept Clemson number one? I'm like, no, because like really the poll changes when you have a college football playoff. Like 4 and 5 matter, but 1 or 2 really doesn't matter because you know they're going to play it off. And I thought at that time Alabama was more impressive. But yeah, I went on Paul Feinbaum's show where he tried to embarrass me, and I think I did quite well based upon the people that reacted to it.
If you unravel and you turn to I don't know who you are, then you're out. You lost.
Yeah, and
that's
when we're discussing the teams, and then you're like, I don't know who you are, so okay, well I'm not trying to get anyone to know who I am, but I was entrusted with this vote by people, and I've had either an AP college basketball vote or a college football vote for, I don't know, 15 years maybe. It's been football for the last 7 or 8. It was basketball before that. I think I've done the voting proud, right, from a standpoint of it's an informed opinion. I don't just go out there and fire darts, but like I don't follow the herd either. Like I think early on, a lot of my votes were analytically driven, and nobody else did analytics, and so that shocks some people. But anyway, to get back around to it, but I don't know if you know this, but last year was the first year I have a Heisman vote.
Okay,
and so to your point, and I think I was given that after earning it, having an AP college football vote for like 6 years, like more than my talk. Vahe Gregorian of the Kansas City Star is this region's kind of, Proctor, Poobah. He's the guy who figures out where to go, who around this area knows what they're talking about. And so when the vote came open, he reached out to me and said, would you do it? I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. It'd be fantastic. It'd be great. Because I take it serious. And I spend a lot of time. And I spent a lot of time on the AP vote. And I actually rank 40 deep plus like anywhere from 2 to 10 other teams that are there, so that when 25 loses, I'm not like starting from scratch. I've got a 26, a 27, a 28. So I rank 40 every week. And, when I have the time, I put that on our website so people can see, and it's transparent as to what I'm doing. And I've pissed off Central Florida fans in the past because I didn't have them as high as other teams. But now I don't get any shit from Central Florida fans because to me, they've earned their way to where they are. They validated. So to your point, like, does she deserve a vote? Like, that's a fair question, right? And Doug Gottlieb, like, I think you got to be careful when you're fighting for women's rights, which I'm a father of 2 daughters, right? So I'm 3 to 1. I got my wife and 2 girls in this house, right? I'm outgunned here, right? So I am all for women's rights, 100%, as much as I can. Not that I do everything right, but you got to be careful about when honest criticism comes your way and you turn it into the sexism fight, right? Because Gottlieb's point, now I love Doug. Doug's a fantastic college basketball insider when he'll show up at the time that he's scheduled to show up at, which was our problem. I had him for years as a college basketball insider. He's fantastic. Love jousting with him. Knowledgeable guy. But like Doug can be kind of a pain in the ass, right? And if Doug won't admit it, then somebody else should tell him. He hasn't gone from ESPN to CBS to Fox because everything was working smoothly. Now, I don't know that Doug always knows Doug's part, but I can tell you personally, nobody is a bigger pain in the ass for my producers than Doug Gottlieb. If Doug will mostly show up, I will put him on my radio show as my college basketball insider.
Mostly show up.
Right? But we got to a point where he wouldn't always show up. So, there's this whole there's so many layers to this, the standpoint that Doug's opinion is honest, and I think he's got a fair point. Does she in her first year covering the NBA, the ESPN swag, is that enough to get you there? Like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's right about that. But this time, making that statement, there's also like, do you want to do what's right and have the most effect, or do you want to be sensational and get clicks? Which we can get to Whitlock in a minute, right? We get to everything that's going on there in a minute. But Doug's criticism is right, I think, in asking the question, should she have a vote? That's a legitimate question. But was that the time to have the maximum effect? No, because as you pointed out, a couple of the stories we've talked about, he gets lumped in with the Whitlock story and talking about, are people attractive or not attractive? Like, now's not the time because his question is valid, but it gets lumped into this is an anti-women thing, and it's not. So his timing sucked. His question's valid, but his timing sucked. And just because you have a point and your point is valid doesn't mean it should be barfed out there whenever you want to, right? And so that's where Doug, I think, and you know, Doug's difficult. Listen, you know my reputation, especially early on. I'd like to think I'm better now. But early on, I know the mindset that Doug had. It's the mindset I had when I was 20. If I'm right, who gives a shit who I pissed off? Like, give me the job and let's go. But you got to be a bit of a team player. And if you piss everybody off around you, they're not going to give you the gig. And so there is a little bit of like, I think Doug feels like he's the best basketball analyst out there. And you know what? He might be. He might be. But you got to be a team player. And you can't bomb everybody around you. His question's 100% valid. It's 100% valid whether or not she should have had a vote. There's a big case to be made she shouldn't have. Because I didn't get a Heisman vote like the first day I started watching college football. I did talk radio for like 15 years before I got a college basketball or college football vote. Then I had a college football vote for 5 or 6 years before I got a Heisman vote. And somebody looked at my college football votes, and one of them is like, part of it is like, I had Clemson number one when everybody else said they weren't number one. I got ridiculed nationally. I stood my ground nationally on it. They went on to win the national championship. I think that probably, you'd have to ask Vahe Gregorian that. I think that probably contributed to where he went, oh, shit, this guy knows what he's talking about. I mean, he didn't only just do this. When he was accused of doing it for sensationalism, he gave all the reasons why he thinks Clemson's better. And then at the end of the day, he ended up being right. So this
could I turn it back on you and say that it's so hard for women to get the initial chance that you have to kind of force them in there, even if you don't like all their qualifications?
100%.
It's not a comfortable thing to hear. You know, if you're a dude, and you know, we can get to the whole of, you know, attractive, not attractive, you know, somewhat attractive argument, but sometimes you got to kind of break down the door by giving people a chance who don't have the same exact resume as a lot of old whites.
I'm fair, 100%. Yes. And I think that's part of why she was given the vote, is because the NBA said, we want to embrace diversity. But when you're given the vote,
you can't make a mistake.
Shit the bed.
Yeah, you got to fucking nail it.
You can't shit the bed. So that's my point, is that, like, you know, Gottlieb's question is legit. The NBA giving her a shot is legit. ESPN has said she's earned this position. Yep. Right? She did play the game. That's a qualification that I don't have, so that bumps her ahead of me as far as if I were to have that pick, right, covering the NBA. Now, maybe I go, okay, I got 20 years of experience in this field, and I've covered this team, and I've done these different things, and maybe that bumps it back up. But that's worth something from her.
I will, Petro, I will also argue that a general columnist around the country, and I know I keep hitting on columnists because some of the stuff with columnists drives me nuts, and there's a lot of lazy ones, and there's been a lot of lazy ones. I could argue that a general columnist, just a general sports columnist who's been around 15 years but has a big name, is less qualified than a person who's been covering the NBA day to day for even a year. They have more connection, potentially, and have more conversations with people directly in the game than the person who drops in, you know, 8-12 times a year to cover the NBA.
Well, you know what I don't like is this statement in some of the stories that we used as our jumping off point for this, one of which you've got up there on the screen, is she does a lot of jobs. Okay, but if she does the one covering the NBA well, then she's qualified. Listen,
wait a second. I mean, if guys are saying that, we are the biggest whores going.
Yes.
Are there any of us who don't have 3 jobs or 5, right? I mean, most guys out there are like, they'll take every goddamn job. And you know, if you're honest with yourself, you ain't doing whatever your main job is, and you take 3 other jobs, your main job has now suffered. Anyone who can't admit that, you're lying, because you can't do it all.
Has your talk show suffered because of your UNLV duties?
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll admit that. Yeah, I mean, a basic. If I got to go travel with UNLV, the show can't be as good with me in Fresno and Adam Hill back in the studio. It's just not the same. Is it like incredibly substandard? Is it half of what it is? No, I work to try to make sure it's close, but I can admit, yeah, it's not going to be for my standards, my prep is not going to be as good. As we joke, the vast sound crew is not going to get as much sound as it normally does. So there are little things that happen, that take down the show.
By the way, the vast sound crew is Steve.
It's a combination, but yeah, it's not exactly. We've joked about the vast sound crew. It's not. I will yell in the studio, I'll be like, "Great job, guys! Good job getting that cut." Yeah, that's kind of the running joke. There's a lot of running jokes. There's a lot of inside baseball on Cofield and Company.
No, but listen, to your point, but I think, can you surround yourself with the right people to free yourself up to do other things?
Okay. Yeah.
Can the show take on a different dynamic and be just as good or better in a different way? Yes.
Okay.
But back to the original point. I have no problem with her getting a vote. I'll have a problem if she has a vote next year.
All right.
Like, would you agree?
Well, I would like to think that guys are held to the same standard, though. When they make a mistake and they're not a high-profile person,
100%.
that it's examined and votes are polled if they're making, that's a pretty significant mistake.
100%. I'll throw some love out to Gary Parrish from CBS, who does his poll attack every week. He calls out the people that aren't paying attention to the poll.
Yep.
It says, what the hell's going on? And I think that should happen. And listen, I've been the subject of his poll attack. Now, I think he had a slow day and had to find somebody. This was back when I was doing college basketball, and it was like number 21. And I justified. I brought him on the show. I justified. He's like, okay, I don't agree, but I see where you're coming from. And by the way, now Gary, that was years ago. Now Gary does my college basketball insider job. He replaced Doug because Gary shows up. And Gary's great, by the way. His insight is phenomenal.
He's awesome.
I think he and Doug are both fantastic. But, Doug's busy. He's got a lot of shit going on. At least,
by the way, again, to my point.
And so does Gary, by the way. Gary does a talk show, does TV, but he's always there.
People overcommit, and somewhere something's going to fall through the cracks. Something's going to be less effective.
But so that's part of that's going to take us to the Whitlock part of the equation, which is like, at some point you got to be a team player, and at some point you got to accept your role, right? At some point, after you've been in this business or any business, 20 years of saying the bosses don't get it, and that's why you're not higher up, like the problem lies with you.
Right. All right. Well, with someone's asking about what Whitlock said about Katie Nolan. So he started out by saying that Taylor got into it. She had an advantage because she is attractive. She is tall. She's quite personable on TV. That pushed her faster into the mix at 33 years old to get that opportunity. Then he kind of went with, hey, I'm a schlubby fat guy. I wouldn't have got those opportunities, the same thing. And then he turned his attention to Katie Nolan, who, he says basically went from a bartender to a 7-figure salary, which I think is unfair. And it's also a stupid shot at bartenders, but whatever. That would be a side discussion. And he also says that she's being protected by ESPN, and she was previously protected by Fox because she has an inability to execute live television. What's the real talking point that you get out of this? Again, the timing is not right, and it is pretty critical. But could you actually hold? I mean, I think everything Whitlock does is calculated, and I think whatever. I won't say the next part, but it's calculated. It's part of the game.
The next part.
Well, no, because I'll get to it because it's a whole side discussion when people are judging Whitlock and hot talkers. But is there a discussion to be had that, in a way, he should have been stronger in this? In a way, is he actually calling out us, the whites, the males, who hire for still objectifying women and letting the majority of women come into sports partially because they're attractive?
Do you see a big fat-ass news anchor? A male news anchor that's a big fat ass?
There are some fatties, but I mean, I think there's a little more.
There's not one. The highest paid jobs in television, there's not one fatty.
It's mostly based on attraction. But I'll say this. I think as women get older, they have a tough time staying in their roles in television. You do see old guys stay around forever as long as they're getting plastic surgery and staying in shape.
I think that is less true because of some of the. I mean, I don't know. I'm over my skis, right? I know there's some folks that like, hey, they're unfireable. Like, what are you going to do? I've done the job for this many years. Are you going to fire me because I'm not as attractive?
Right.
And they stay around. The bottom line is at some point we should get to a point where it's about who's best at the job. But listen, if you don't want to look at my fat face, like, who am I to say, like, I should be hired because I know more than this person, right? I know more than that person. It is a difficult subject. Are some people there because they're a pretty face, male and female? Yes, of course, absolutely. But who wants to say, hey, this person, they're great. I mean, they're not attractive, but they should be on TV. Go ahead and make that statement, because that's a negative statement as well.
Yeah, of course.
So it's a really difficult position to be in. I would say this, like, at some point you have to come to peace with who you are and what you can do and what you want to be, right? So, like, I had an epiphany at one point where I'm like, I'm not doing shtick radio, right? I looked around, I was like, sports talk radio is shtick. There were different, I'm not going to name the people that I think are shticks, but there are different people that had these kind of shticks. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I want to do content-driven, informational, fun, entertainment. Yes, we all want to have fun. You can't just barf stats out there. And because I use stats as like a point to, make my point, I've been ridiculed by a lot of people in my own building, right? People in my own city, people wherever. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do my show my way, and however far that takes me, that's going to be good with me. And it's taking me to wherever I am, and I'm good with that. I made a peace with myself that this is what I want to do. I get the feeling that there are a lot of people out there that haven't made that peace. And the industry is what it is. Now, can we all do our part to make it better? Yes. But if you're going to sit around and bitch that they're only hiring thin people, then get thin.
Yeah.
Right? If it's that important, get thin. Mm-hmm. And I would also say that, Jason's been fired at every job he's ever had.
He's a Gottlieb type in terms of personality behind the scenes. He can be a giant pain in the balls.
And Jason, yes, and I can confirm that from different employers that have had him, that they're just finally like, sounded like a good idea. We know he stirs this shit. We know he'll draw some attention, but oh my God, it's not worth the effort.
Every goddamn day. Yep.
But I will also tell you, in having conversations with Jason, who I saw him at the Super Bowl before he was on to his next venture that he's on to now. And he seemed a lot more at peace with who he was and where he was and everything. And maybe, getting fired at Fox blew it up. But at some point, you can't just ridicule everyone around you to try to make yourself look better. If they won't hire you, you got to change what you do. And I think there is a bit of a notion that he's a cancer. My prediction is it won't work where he's at now.
You don't think? No. I think if he's willing to play the character as
his guns will turn on Clay Travis.
I was going to say the other thing is they're both, when you get alpha guys who are playing their bits, they but I like right now it's a hell of a bit. You've got a guy who's got a certain audience with, I call him Doc Travis all the time, doctor of expertise in COVID, right? It's going to work in the short term because it's an amazing character. You've got an African American guy who's going to be more pro-white and find that contrarian take. This is what I was holding back on, and I've gotten so much pushback from the people around me, but I've been consistent on this. What I will not accept is that Travis or Cowherd or Gottlieb or Whitlock or name any other hot takers, Skip Bayless. What I will not accept is when people are like, they're not talented. There's nothing redeeming about what they do. Come on, guys and women.
All right,
there is a talent. If you can wake up in the morning and find the hot button, contrarian, good take every day, there is a talent. Now, I wish I had that. Would I move forward with it every day? No, but there is a talent in being a rabble rouser and finding that angle where sometimes I'm like, God damn, that's good. But it's like people who are not earners and still don't have jobs. Like Bayless clearly is untouchable. He said the stuff about Dak. A lot of people got pissed off, and now they're signing to an extension and giving him more money. So for all of us who were like, this is beneath me, and they have no talent. Come on, folks.
Yeah, but that's so two things. One, I'll stick up for Gottlieb in the sense that I think he is not. I think he's grouped into this because of his comments, but his comments were not. He wasn't calling anybody a no talent. He's just saying she hadn't earned the vote. All right, so I'll stick up for Doug on that standpoint. That I think he had a valid point, but he, like I said, his timing sucked because now he's being lumped in with Whitlock, all these different things. And I think Jason is a guy that looks to be a contrarian and looks to like, what can I do to draw attention to me? And I think Clay Travis and Whitlock have said, whatever it takes to get attention, get clicks, and generate revenue, that's what we're going to do. And there's nothing. There's a market for that. I have no ill will towards him. I've had Clay Travis on my show. Last time I had him on, I had to tell him, stop talking over me. You're a guest. I haven't interrupted you. You treat me with the same, type of professional consideration that I'm treating you, or we'll end this right now. And last time I had him on was when Missouri, long before what we're dealing with now, were threatening to not play a game under Gary Pinkel. And there was a student, African-American student, that was having a food strike to draw attention to oppression and things that were going on. And Clay Travis bombed it. He bombed it, said it was a joke. And so I brought him on to give the other opinion and to give his opinion and, whatever. And I respect Clay Travis for being the success he is in the business. I don't know what he believes really or not, but he does what he does.
I'll guarantee you right now that between Whitlock, I'm not exactly confident because I think we'll see. But I think between Whitlock and Travis, I'll make the statement right now. 5 years from now, they will be fine. They will morph and they will adjust to what works. If they have to change, they will change.
Will they be working together?
I don't know about that part.
No.
Probably not. Probably not because of Whitlock. Yeah, when Whitlock changes. Yeah, Jason changes.
Put the tweet out. Put the tweet up. Are we ready to roll on to the tweet from the Jersey guy?
You want to get to the Jersey, New York?
It speaks to because I'll explain because I think you know this. I don't know if you know this, but I was around this situation when it was going on.
This is great because I feel like there's a lie in here somewhere. And I really believe some of this is a troll, but unfortunately the person has an ego where they rolled in some personal stuff.
Who?
So
who are we talking about? So I don't know. I've never heard of Chris Carlin until you sent me this tweet.
I have. He was a producer at WFAN. Not to be mean, but I think he's about as close to the product of nepotism as you can be without being direct family. He's a Francesa guy. Okay. So he's had
related to him?
No, he's not. No, he was his producer.
Well,
he was
just a connection.
No, but it's where he's gone based on the connection. Because he's almost never left the New York area, and there's a reason, right? Okay. Because that's where his connections are. And I believe if he left, he'd get pretty exposed. And he did leave for a little while, and he got exposed quickly and bailed because he's like,
where'd he go?
Philadelphia, and it was not working. And then he went to Sirius XM to try to do national college football talk, and it was not working. But anyway, before we get into him, because no one cares for the most part, my knowledge of FAN and New York stuff, and but I do have connections on this, so I do talk to people. He said Chris Carlin, who's ESPN New York now, said in 2003 I turned down a job as a host at a new sports radio station in Kansas City. Why? So he tries to tell a joke. I think this is a joke. I'm from New Jersey. When I visited, they took me out for Italian and seafood in Kansas City. I guess if I want to read it the right way, it would be, I'm from New Jersey. When I visited, they took me out for Italian and seafood in Kansas City. Like it was an insult. Yeah, I'm a Jersey guy, right? Kansas City, Italian food. Come on.
I don't know. Like, whatever. The whole, like, your city doesn't have good restaurants.
Right.
Like that. Whatever.
Chris, I don't know your background, but Carlin doesn't sound Italian to me. Cofield doesn't either, but I'm half Italian. Gentile and Avolia and Mangieri sounds fucking Italian. But so I don't know that because you went to Vito's in fucking North Bergen that you're some Italian food expert, but whatever. He said Jason Whitlock at the station was a centerpiece. Their instincts were bad. I'm glad I trusted mine. There's a lot here, but I will let you go first.
So, well, do you want to go first, and then,
No. Because it's mostly this is a shot about Whitlock, which kind of I actually, I said, and of course he liked it, but whatever. I said, hey, this is a really good troll tweet. It is.
Who's he trolling?
I think he's trolling Kansas City, and he's trying to jump into the Whitlock fray, and maybe he did it on a show. He's not saying much here, but kind of like, hey, any station that have Whitlock on it is a worthless fucking station.
Which is he wanting to draw the ire of Whitlock, so Whitlock will shit on him and he'll get notice?
Dude, I have no idea. I can just tell you that when I thought about it, I was like, if this guy ever went on a show or had Whitlock on, I would be ugly. And I thought about you immediately. I'm like, if he's taking shots at Kansas City and Petro actually knows the truth about that station, this guy will hang up crying.
Well, so yeah, right. So he's in the ballpark. I'll say that. I don't know anything about Chris Carlin, but that time was the time that I was going from the company that was starting up the sports station that Jason Whitlock was coming over to. I worked for that company. And he was coming over, and, you know, I was being pitched on how great this was. And so there wasn't a sports station that the company was coming to. There was a news talk station where I did the only sports show. And they're like, yeah, you're going to do this. Here's the gig. And, you know, Whitlock, and he was going to work with Bill Moss, who was a former Pro Bowl nose tackle for the Chiefs, used to be on Fox as a game analyst, really good football analyst and everything, but a very opinionated guy himself. But you know, I like Bill, and he definitely great football mind and knowledge and everything. You know, they were going to work together, and, you know, Whitlock was, and he's admitted it since, he came on with our station. He left the station I work for now, 810, and he left. And so he was coming over to start the station in Kansas City, and they needed other hosts and everything. And my company tried to make me go over there. I had some contractual things that said I didn't have to, right? And so I stood my ground and said, you know, no, I'm not going to do it. And they're like, well, you need to talk to Jason, right? Jason, you know, he understands it. He gets it. You need to talk to Jason. And so Jason, I had to have a one-on-one meeting with Jason, and he said, look, we're doing something big here. I don't think you understand what's going on. You know, it's bigger than all this, Soren. It's. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we got something. You need to understand, we're doing something big. We're doing something big here. I was like, oh, let me guess. They're giving you some bullshit about how they're going to syndicate you and make you national, and it's going to be this huge deal, and you know, it's all this stuff. I go, listen, and there's a guy named Johnny Dare here in town who's a buddy of mine. You know, it's like the big, yeah, I'd call him the Howard Stern in Kansas City, right? That's where he was at that time, and still a massive radio icon in this town. Yeah. And I said, look, they haven't made Johnny Dare a national icon. What do you think they're going to do with you? Like, you may be gobbling all this up, but like, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. And I'm gonzo, right? They can't make me go to the station, and I'm not going to go. And so he gave up. He's like, all right, whatever. And his kind of opinion was like, screw you. I don't need you, which I respect. That's fine. You don't have to feel like you got to have me. And so the bosses tried to keep me. And I was like, listen, right now they got a common enemy where they're coming from. Like Bill and Jason were coming from the station I work for now. And I'm like, they got a common enemy. There's a guy over there who drives everybody nuts. And it's like their guns are pointing at him. And so they're together. Look at us. We're both shooting over here. I said, you take that guy out of the mix and you bring them into a studio together. Their guns are, for a little while, are going to be shooting around here. They don't know where to go. But eventually they're going to shoot at each other. And that will implode. And that show didn't last 1 year. And then Whitlock ended up being fired on the air because he was frustrated. And I had told him, I said, listen, whatever you think you're going to get, you're not going to get. This is real radio here. This is corporate radio. You need to be ready for corporate radio. And he's like, no, I've got something bigger going, man. It's gonna be bigger than this, and you don't understand. You're missing out. I was like, okay. And so he left. I went. You know, I looked around. I had a no compete set out, and then I ended up going to work for the station that he left, and he ended up going to work for the new station. And I have no ill will towards Jason. Had a no compete set out. That didn't work, right? He thought he had it all figured out, and he ended up being frustrated with everyone around him. And then he went to ESPN, and he was frustrated with everyone around him. And then he went to Fox, and then he was frustrated with everyone around him. Then he went back to ESPN. He was frustrated with everyone around him and got fired or quit. You know, it's always a mutual decision. He's back to Fox, and he's fired and quitting. Like, if you think it's going to end any differently, and outkick the coverage of Clay Travis, a guy who's got an even bigger ego than probably any ego he's been around since, That's a ticking time bomb. Like, I hope not. I hope both those guys find happiness, and it's great. And, I know what my role in this world is. So if somebody else is going to make $1 billion doing the same thing I do, hey, God bless them, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. As long as I can take care of my family and my kids, I'm good. But that shit ain't going to work in the long run.
No,
I got a common enemy.
I wasn't predicting that. I was predicting that they will adjust whatever job they have. They're
both
make
talented. And I agree with you. I think that's the one thing for people that don't like them.
Yeah.
You're smart because you respect the talent of what they do. And yes, they will morph to the next whatever it is.
Issues, whatever, for Clay Travis, if he needs to tone it down and not be so pro-white guy, then he won't be. But whatever the next hot button issue is for white, angry white dudes, he'll figure it out and he'll do it. He'll find that enemy the audience can fight against, and Whitlock will. I think he's a little further along, but he'll figure it out. You know what? Actually, as you were talking about that, I will actually say that, and I don't bloviate on personal stuff. When I actually think about it, I am such a giant clunt. The fact that I've lasted at one place for 16 years is actually like a feather in my cap. I don't even know how I do it. I really am fucking unbearable to deal with.
I have been here since 2004. Well, it's because you're good, right? Like, I'm a Titanic pain in the ass.
Dude, I think I actually think it's more of how you deal with all the other stuff off the air. And I know you have your issues and, you get aggressive but like you have to pick your spots. If you're Whitlock, and I could name so many people. Like I see people I really don't even know. And when they first come into the Vegas market, I'm like, wait, this is their 8th job. And they're like 39. Like, what the fuck? Like, what's been going on?
Yeah. Listen, there's an element of, and that's like I say, like, I decided, you know what? I grew up in Kansas City, went to school in Syracuse, came back to Kansas City, worked in Vegas, came back to Kansas City. Like, this is where I want to be. So, like, I don't want to jump town to town to town for the job and tell everybody I'm making more money, which is bullshit. If you've been through 8 jobs, like, well, they just keep paying me more. Okay, well, I don't think so. And you moved your family and changing schools and, just all that things. Like, but there are some people that are like, hey, that's part of the thrill. I want a new change. I want a new place. I want this. I want that.
Man. I think to this guy's point, he would have lasted less than a year in Kansas City. Yes. Moving from New York, especially where everyone thinks New York is like, the biggest and baddest. And a lot of the shows there, all they are phone calls. So you don't really have to set up a show. Going to another market it's a rude awakening. I'll give one of my buddies, Brandon Tierney, did it. He went to San Francisco. He did pretty well there. Eventually landed. He actually went from sports fan to Detroit to San Francisco. For a New York guy to do that and to be able to do all those stops is good. And then he got back into New York, and I was doing national radio. Like, he does get it. It's not easy to go into a new market. We know our friend Chuck Powell's in Seattle, and I think he's doing pretty well. But he's the outsider, and to make that work, it's tough. So good for Chris with the good troll tweet here, and like, hey, I'm in New York, and it's better than. It's a lot better than Kansas City. It's like, dude, you wouldn't have made it there. You didn't make it in Philadelphia. I won't be mean and keep pounding on the guy because he is very successful. So he's probably more successful than I am. He is.
Wait a minute. So let me say this. So to his tweet, he would have been fired. I don't know him from Adam, but everybody on that station, everyone they had there was gone and got fired.
But I'm talking about market change. He would have never made it. It wouldn't have worked.
No, he wouldn't have made a market change. And by the way, the station, his instinct was right. Do you know that show, that station, the only that whole lineup got fired, right? And they actually fired Damon Amendolar. Amendolar. They fired DA, who did a really good job there. Yep. And there are a lot of different factors working against them, and they never wanted to admit things they need to do besides their lineup to win.
Right. And
they wanted to just throw money at certain things, but never the right things. And so, that's one of the things about radio. And Whitlock didn't work. Whitlock and Moss didn't work, even though they both have talent. All these other guys didn't work. And DA now does. I think he's still on CBS, right?
He is. Yeah, he's been doing a national show for a long time.
Yeah, and so I remember talking to DA a lot. And good guy, good show, and it was a bad. The guy's instinct, at least about don't take this job, whether it was his own inabilities or what he saw at the end, he was right.
All right, Italian food in Kansas City. I will step up for Italian food in Kansas City, and that's just. I got to tell you, you're not. I'll say you're not really from New Jersey if you don't know mob history. And just based on that, like New Jersey has mob history, Kansas City's got some pretty fucking good mob history. And if that leads to Italian restaurants that are fronts for your money laundering, which my next door neighbor was one of those people back in Hazlitt, New Jersey, that's one of the things they will do aside from, garbage and whatever else,
if you haven't seen Casino, all the money from Vegas came through Kansas City.
And God damn it with that notebook and bitching to your mom. You son of a bitch, right? He blew up the whole goddamn thing because he couldn't shut up and stop whining.
You go up to the Northland. That's where all the money is. But yeah.
No, that would be the equivalent from someone in New Jersey also saying like Cleveland Italian food. Yeah, Cleveland Italian food. Yeah.
No,
they got Italian there too.
Yeah, there's some great Italian restaurants here. Old school Italian families. Italian being spoken in the kitchen. No, it's good stuff. Start with our buddy Renee Brunetti. Ever ready, Brunetti? Italian Delight. Give some love. He's usually here. He probably went to bed, jackass. He's got to get up and open the restaurant. But Carozzo's, Jasper's, there's a lot of great restaurants here.
What is it? Cascones or Cascones?
Oh, Cascone's great. Yeah, Cascone's fantastic.
Nice.
I know the Cascone family. Great stuff. That's my mom's go-to for Mother's Day. She wants to go to Cascone's. Take the whole family.
Nice. By the way, people don't realize that LA actually has some pretty good Italian too. I know you'd never figure it, but there's a lot of transplants.
Turns out that every ethnicity can move.
Yeah, of course. Yes. You can make pizza in Phoenix. There's people who have backgrounds. You can, and guess what? You don't have to be Italian actually to make a great Italian food either. So you could be, Miller's Italian House. You might not attract anyone with a name. And I agree. The ultimate triumph, Olive Garden is the best across the board. Yeah. All right. Here's the week 3 contest lines. Jaguars. Right away. Let's go. Jaguars 3 against the Dolphins. I don't have much interest in this one. Do you? Okay. Like lean, just
on the board. They're on the board.
Okay. Oh, really?
They're on the board. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't you think the whole world's on Jacksonville?
I don't know. I'm not the whole world, so
okay.
Apparently I'm a Dolphins whore because I played them the first 2 weeks in some form or fashion. You know what? I'm not analyzing Raider games anymore for these picks. I'm out.
Raiders,
you're right. You're
Raiders
right.
Walk.
I'm with a sourpuss who's going to always come up with a negative angle. So maybe I do need to back off on the Raiders.
Raiders or walk.
Why is that?
I love what the Patriots did. They were forced to throw the ball, and they could throw the ball. But first of all, I think you guys are undervaluing the Raiders. I think there's a lot of pieces to like. I think Derek Carr is Alex Smith. He's not as safe with the ball, but he'll make more plays with the ball. I think there's good talent around him. They can run. I think there's a lot to like about where the Raiders are going. I don't think they're a 12-4 team, but I think they're a team that's going to have fight in every game. And so, I think going to the new town is like inspiring. So, and the Patriots, I think, want to run the ball all the time. They can throw it if they have to, but I think there's only so many clubs in the bag. And I don't like the Patriots plus points. Yeah, get all over them. Right? But Patriots laying big numbers? No, I don't think so. So I think everyone's going to chirp short week with the Raiders. Patriots showed all this firepower. I think that's an overlay. I think these two teams are pretty equal. I think you're getting a lot of extra points with the Raiders.
I'm not sure the Patriots have a great defense right now. And I'll give the story, and I've told this a couple of times. With the Patriots side, maybe I'm buying into a good story too much. But anyway, Aqib Talib retired. He says Bill Belichick came to him about 2 weeks before the season. He's like, hey, here's a gig. It's a limited gig. Talib basically said, you know what? They wanted me to come in to be the tight end stopper. And then I looked around the league, and he starts naming all the good tight ends, and he was like, I don't want any part of that shit. I'm out of here. So then that's what he said. Again, I don't want to overreact to a funny story, but that gives you an indication that Belichick was worried about his ability,
right.
The ability of his defense to cover tight ends. And if that means Stephon Gilmore is on him a lot, then there's openings for other guys. And do the Raiders have that guy to take advantage of it? Possibly. Ruggs is not healthy right now.
Ruggs' knee is an important part of the discussion here.
Yeah.
Or your what's his Jones? The Bills, Zayon Jones or no,
Zay Jones. Zay Jones.
Zay
Yeah,
Jones.
he
Zay
had a
Jones.
touchdown catch, and yeah, he's. They actually talked him up in camp a lot. It's just I'll give the Raiders credit. They have. I still think they're very late on defense. They have a receiving core, and they're not. They're not names where you're like, oh my god, that's a number one. But if you have Aguilar, if you have Nelson Aguilar and Zay Jones as backups, those are pretty good backups. Along with Brandon coming along.
I agree. And Zay Jones has pedigree, and he had games. Like, I think Zay Jones, and you'd speak to this better than me, his problem is his personal life. Like, his problem is getting his head screwed on right. I mean, I don't know if everybody remembers running naked through a plate glass window when he was in Buffalo is a problem, right? And so if he is a talented guy, was he high second or low first pick of the Bills? There's a pedigree there that if you can focus him, if he's matured, like we talk about, found his place where I know what I want to do, then I think there's ability there.
I ran through the front door of Cheetah's naked one time, and it took me about 4 years to kind of turn the corner and really start humming in the right direction on radio.
Going the wrong direction.
It happens. Yeah, I was running out. I like the Bills a lot. Even though the Rams have won a game, and then they won the first game close, and then they destroyed the Eagles. I do think the travel is a factor, and the fact that the Rams couldn't do, hey, we're going to stay on the East Coast, or we're going to stay at Greenbrier in West Virginia. And I like this number 2 at 2.5, so I like the Bills over the Rams.
I got your back. I think it's the only
but Bills, I'd like to see some health out of the linebacking core because they did have 2 linebackers out last week.
I got your back on this. I think the only side is the Bills or get away from it. I think the Rams beat an Eagles team that we might find out is pedestrian. I think there's still question marks with the Rams, even though they're 2-0. And so I think the casual players like Rams 2-0 getting points. I'm all over it. Well, so are the Bills, right? And I think that Josh Allen playing well, that scares me, is that Josh Allen had a big day. And so is that driving this, point spread? I don't think he's any better than Jared Goff. But I do agree. The travel, all that, I think it's the Bills or stay away.
Steelers 4 against Texans seems low to me.
I'm going to hate to say it. I like the Texans. And now I'm sitting here being like, twice I've been burnt with the Texans. Like, do they just suck? And this line, like, why is this line so low? I'm with you. So I think you have to, for me, I'm looking at it going, although the Steelers had to get in the sandbox and throw sand around with the Broncos team that I don't think is that good.
Yeah.
And, so help me out. I'm Texans or I stay away just because it scares me. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the Texans still have street cred, but I don't think so. I think the street cred's gone. They're only getting 4. I think the whole world's on the Steelers, so put me on the side of the casinos. Give me the Texans.
Niners Giants. I'm fascinated by this game. Fascinated. Giants are without Saquon Barkley. Devontae Freeman won't be ready to go for a while. The Giants' O-line sucks. We know the back end of the defense ain't great. They had fight, though. They kept fighting in the Bears game. Who are the Niners playing? So we're probably going to see Nick Mullen at quarterback. You have got 2 running backs out for the Niners. The third running back, there's been talk of McKinnon being a risky play because the Niners are freaked about this turf at Giant Stadium. Niners are also beat up on defense. They just lost Bosa for the year. What do we do here?
I think you play the better coach. You play Kyle Shanahan or you don't play it.
Exactly what I was thinking about. Little Shanny over Joe Judge.
Kyle Shanahan is a badass. I mean, people are going to find – I think his career is going to mirror Andy Reid's, and he's going to win a lot of games. He's going to go to a lot of playoffs, and he's not going to win championships. And everyone's going to claim he can't win the big game, and nobody's going to understand how important it is to have the great quarterback, right? You can steal one here and there. That's why, Jim Harbaugh stealing one with Joe Flacco. Great accomplishment. That's why Joe Gibbs belongs. I don't know who the other 3 guys are, but Joe Gibbs belongs on the Mount Rushmore of coaches because he won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, none of which are going to the Hall of Fame. You show me anybody who won more than 1 Super Bowl. I guess actually Bill Parcells would do that, but nobody else has won 3 without a Hall of Fame quarterback. So I think Shanahan's career is going to mirror that. these lower, get it down under a touchdown, Shanahan's always a good play. He's favored for a reason. They still have the better team. So it's the Niners or don't play.
The other thing to take into consideration, the Jets might just be that bad.
Oh, agreed.
They're
when there are public comments coming out from their team that they don't practice fast enough.
Yep.
From players, I mean, the only people that apparently don't see the shitstorm that's occurring every day at Jets Park is the Jets ownership. Maybe that's because the owner's trying to stay out of federal penitentiary or something.
Right. Yeah, you know what? That actually is good analysis. Sometimes when an owner has so many other things going on, they just forget about the goddamn team. I can't wait until fuck the Johnson & Johnson fan. Get out.
If you think the brother's really running things, no. It's definitely the boss brother, and he's got serious shit to deal with as a ambassador.
And Adam Gase he's not a communicator. So he's a fucking weird guy, and
he sucks.
Just a total clunk.
He does not get it. He's imitating a coach. He's not a real coach.
Titans Vikings.
There's a side here, and it's either Vikings on the money line or it's the Titans walking easy.
Yeah. Is this you had talked in the past about, I think it was you, right, about the Vikings kind of being an up and down team, right? 1 year good, 1 year bad, and now the defense turned over so much. They're really not healthy on the defensive line, and they lost premium defensive linemen. I mean, Cousins was dog shit last week. I mean, it looks like the Titans are an obvious play. Do the Vikings have fight left? I mean, it's a home dog. I'm going to take a home dog 90% of the time.
It's going to be hard for me to not take a home dog and not take a home. I'm not looking at a team like with the Titans that are coming in with a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson. We're talking about a guy that's a pedestrian who's a game manager, right? Let's not call him pedestrian. Let's call him a game manager. I'll go back to something I told you before the season got going. Eric Eager at Pro Football Focus, who I value his opinion greatly, said the Vikings are a 5 or 6 win team. And, they hate their secondary. They think there's a lot of problems with that team. Cousins is a guy who was hot last year, which means he probably shouldn't be hot this year. Like, he's serviceable, but he's no more than Derek Carr. And, and in some ways he's worse, in some ways he's better. Where I said Carr will take more chances, so he'll make more mistakes than Alex Smith. Cousins will take even more, right? So if he doesn't have the pieces around him, it's not going to work. I think losing Stefon Diggs has hurt them. Justin Jefferson, while he put up great numbers at LSU, is not ready to be what Stefon Diggs was. I look at the line and I go, you have to take the Vikings, right? Why is the number higher?
Yeah.
But I don't know that I can pull the trigger on the Vikings right now.
Right.
If you're like, we have to pick all 16 games against the spread, one of those contests, I'll take the Vikings.
I know Trusum Duluth was talking crap, but he said Titans by 50. So this would be my best personal betting line. This is better than the Petro weight loss bet. If I lost the Vikings plus 50 for 10 grand, that would be awesome. I would just for the story, it's worth the 10 grand.
Yeah.
Be my great, like they lose 53-0. What just happened? Oh, Trusum Duluth says he was exaggerating. All right, that's all right. Football team plus 7 at the Browns. I'm leaning. I would lean towards football team. Are you buying the Browns? Did they get the ship righted in that game as they got backdoor covered by the Bengals on Thursday?
To lay 7 against a team that was impressive in week 1. I mean, I know they came back down to earth in week 2, but part of me says, wow, the Browns laying that kind of number. I thought the Browns were an over bet for the year. So I think the Browns are going to win the game. I think this is a game that they will win. I think there's talent on that team. I know they were a debacle in the first week. I don't think you can read too much into the week. So I'm on the Browns or I'm not playing it. Where are you?
Well, I'm on. Wait, say it again. You're on the Browns,
or I'm not playing it.
Yeah, I would be on football team, but and the reason is Arizona might be that good. Arizona might be a 10-win team, and Kyler Murray may be on the verge of turning into like a top 7 quarterback. He's freaking good, and obviously Hopkins' addition is monstrous because they smoked Washington.
But so what has sold you on the Browns getting their ass kicked by the Ravens and then winning, not even covering against a Bengals team that had the number 1 pick last year? And granted they had a Joe Burrow who did throw the ball 600 times and managed to back into 300 yards passing. Not that he's not going to be good, but like his performance last week is being way overrated. Apparently LeBron tweets about you and that makes you a star quarterback. I don't get it, but that number seems like too big a lay to me.
The
Redskins' resume is good. It seems too big, so I like the Browns.
Yeah, I would say the upside on the Browns is that this is going to sound weird. The upside on the Browns is that they're immature and they don't know how to put away teams, and they relaxed and didn't put the nail in the coffin against the Bengals. But I will tell you, between the Stefanski game plan and then the execution of Chubb and Hunt, I mean, that's no joke. If Nick Chubb and Hunt are going to run like that, I mean, you are talking about a team that out of 2 running backs could get 130, 140 yards on the ground. And that means that Mayfield doesn't get put in a position to make stupid mistakes.
He can manage the game.
He gets to do play action and throw 25 or 30 times, not 50.
And if they'll give him some escape hatches to run for first downs and not have every quarterback run just be when he's running for his life. I watched Alex Smith transform into a productive quarterback because you run some routes with the idea that the third option is the quarterback tucks it and runs. Baker Mayfield can do that. So, I think there's more potential there for the Browns. I'm not saying they're going to reach it, but I do think that this number looks way too big. And I think the Browns roster is way better than the Redskins roster. So my preseason evaluation is that the Browns are significantly better than the Redskins. And so I think this number is based upon that. And so I like the Browns.
What do you think of this one? Little secret, Kareem Hunt is better than Nick Chubb.
I mean, they're both really good. Who cares? They're running back, so they'll be hurt within 2 years anyway. So you got both.
Yep.
What's the point?
Eagles were 6.5, bet down to 5, so the Wednesday line is set. And again, to explain to everyone, the Westgate sets its lines on Wednesday. We have to play this line by Saturday at 11 p. So we don't have a choice. So the line
is this our line at 5?
This is our line. Yeah. So if you want to play the Bengals, you got effed because it was 6.5. Keep in mind, Eagles are still extremely beat up. Their receivers are between being pedestrian and beat up. That's not a good situation. And now Rieger, their first-round pick, is down for 4 to 8 weeks with a UCL issue. So now they're down another weapon. I mean, this is absolute max motivation spot. They have to win this game.
They have to win the game, and losing is a disease. I don't like it at 5 because it's a tease down number, so you can tease the Eagles down to +1, and I think a bunch of people will. Teaser players will do that. It's one of the reasons why I kind of like the Raiders because I think they'll tease the Pats down to -0.5. I think teaser lines are something that I like a lot. The dogs that are +5, +5.5. I think it's a great spot on up to +6. So, but I don't know that the Bengals are ready to cover back-to-back weeks. I mean, they're still a long way away from being good.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks there, and they're clearly their run defense is.
I'm out on that game. That's all you.
Ain't good. I'm not into it either. All right, here we go. I don't even want to talk about these guys. Goddamn Falcons. Now it landed on 3. It was 4 and 3.5. Now Bears action has pushed it down. I assume early in the week, if you get a move like that, it's sharp action, right? The volume bettors are not betting on freaking Monday, Tuesday, and half a Wednesday. Falcons 3 against the Bears. The Bears are for real. Are we serious? I got to side with freaking Dan Quinn in this defense again.
The Bears are not for real. They and I've talked with people in Chicago, and they agree. Now, I think there is an anti-Trubisky sentiment that wants him out of there. So I think they want to diminish in Chicago anything he does. I actually hate to say it, but I mean, you're laying points with an 0-2 team against a 2-0 team. What does that tell you? The Falcons are the play, but I don't know that I can bring myself to bet the Falcons.
I still have to think about this one. I know that's not good video or sports radio. I gotta read more this week. Maybe talk to some Chicago people. and see how.
Julio Jones is nicked up. He's on the injury report. Didn't practice today. That's a reason to back off. But I really think Calvin Ridley's enough. I mean, the Falcons have enough firepower. The problem is, can they stop anybody? Right? I mean, bullshit. Like, enough worrying about the offense. Like, stop somebody. Dan Quinn's the defensive side of the ball guy, and it took him like 9 weeks last year to figure out how to play defense. And they've invested on that side of the ball. But listen, I think the Bears are a flawed team because they're going to keep going at it with Mitchell Trubisky because they're trying to validate that draft pick and not move on and become the team that they need to become.
All right. Bears have the horseshoe, I guess, up the ass. Mark is saying +3, +100 on the Bears. Adam's brother, Ryan Carl, says, and he threw this out earlier as his philosophy, I think, with Josh Allen and Trubisky. Do you handicap this in that certain players, especially some of these quarterbacks, aren't shitting themselves now because there's no fans there, that it's kind of calming? You can just go out and play?
I suppose there could be something to it, but I don't buy it with Trubisky. I think Matt Nagy can coach. Everyone I've talked to around the league, I know what the opinion was of him within the Chiefs organization. He can coach. He can come up with a game plan. Trubisky's got to execute. Listen, there are just windows he doesn't see where the football can go, or he can't make the throws. And, it's if you provide some escape hatches where he can run for some first downs, you can make it happen. If they can get a run game going, that helps. David Montgomery got going. If the running backs are having a day catching and running the ball, then he's going to look better. But no, I'm not buying it. I'm with you, Falcons or don't play.
I'll punch up the board here in a second. Again, this is where you need the discipline, and you can't get emotional when a team is super shitty. But there's also the other side of it. You know what? Sometimes teams are just bad. And there was a couple of years ago when people just kept playing the Browns, and I'm talking people like the Sharps, over and over and over and over.
Last year, 2 years ago is when they were winning for people.
All right, so last year, people just kept pounding it, and the Sharps were like, yep, let's keep doing it. They look like shit, but we know we're right. Are the Jets that team where it's like they're just terrible, man? And maybe the line doesn't catch up. Maybe 11 isn't even enough with the Colts favored against the Jets.
No, the Jets are shit. It's Colts. It's minus. The Jets are unplayable. First of all, the only people that think Sam Darnold is going to be a legit quarterback are Jets fans. It doesn't take 10 years to get good. The upside on him is Matt Stafford. And I don't even think that upside is there. Like, you cannot be plus 11. Eat shit if your snitch is a team that's plus 11. Get out. No. Like, will they cover sometimes? Sure. Might they even back ass into a win here or there? Yes. But if your snitch is finding the double-digit dogs to jump on, go fuck yourself. You're broke.
The sad thing with them in those first two games, they played horribly in the first half, and they barely showed fight in the second half, and they didn't score points. Like, I did get the Jets second half in game plus 20.5. And it was like nerve-wracking just to get it to 31-13. I'm like, the fucking starting quarterback is out. Mostert is out.
Two defensive linemen are out.
Like, Bosa freaking shredded his ACL. Solomon Thomas shredded his ACL. And, like, you're not even going to get this to, like, 13 or 10? Dude, it's Nick goddamn Mullins in there.
I will say this. The Colts had a definitive win, but they kept settling for field goals, which is troubling. Like, Phillip Rivers has not hit his mark. I still think the Colts roster is a talented roster. Yeah.
I will say there were some receivers who did not back up Rivers. He did throw a beautiful touchdown pass to T.Y. Hilton. I don't know what the hell was T.Y. Hilton and Julio Jones. Now, Julio Jones can blame Gage, like, oh, he's not a quarterback. The ball wasn't perfect. Like, the Rivers ball was right freaking there. I will say for the Colts, they kind of backed into it. Jonathan Taylor is going to be great, and they didn't give him the job right off the bat. Now that he has a chance with Mac down, there's a chance they can actually be a balanced team and not have, Reich loves Rivers. Taylor will almost take it out of his hands where he can be the bell cow and not have Rivers throw 44 times a game.
I had the Colts winning the AFC South coming into the year, and Luke shitting away the first game to Jacksonville looked horrible. It doesn't look as bad after what they did with the Titans. So I think the Colts are good. and I'm on the Colts or I don't play it.
Now someone here says RJ Bell preached double-digit dog nonsense for years. I buy it. There's just certain cases. Like, I mean, if you're going to go with the system, you should play it. I think you're going to lose, but I do think at the end of the year, if you play every double-digit dog, you're probably going to get 55% ATS.
Let's track it.
Okay. Yeah, let's track it this year. And we can go back. Maybe I can look up the number for the end of the show.
So you're saying if you do it, you'll break even.
Well, I mean, breaking even is like 52-3. Okay, so you're not going to win a whole lot.
Okay.
I mean, you would hope it turns out to be above 60%. The Chargers, this is a good chance to talk about the Tyrod Taylor punctured lung thing. I don't know what the hell's going on. That's insane. So he ain't playing this weekend. So Herbert's back in. I like Herbert. I liked a lot of things he did. He made a key mistake, but he makes a lot of throws that I don't think Tyrod can make. But now there's film on him.
Yeah, there's film on him, and this team knows he's going to play, right? The Chiefs defense was expecting something different, and so they had a game plan based on Tyrod Taylor. I don't like this game because I think it's a total unknown because I don't know what Herbert is yet. His interception was god-awful. It was a terrible decision. I will say this. My analysis of him at Oregon was that he was terrified of the rush, and he stood in against the pass rush against the Chiefs, which is an important part. You have to be willing to leave your eyes down the field and deliver throws while the rush is coming in, and he did that. So I have taken a step back from my statement that he will be a bust. I will wait and see, but let's see when the defense game plans for him. I think this is a dangerous game. There might be a great side on it. If Herbert's for real, if you're convinced, if you knew Herbert was the real deal coming into this season and he just backed you up, then fire away on the Chargers.
Okay.
Right? Fire away. But I think Bridgewater's overrated, so I can't get on board with the Panthers. I'm staying away from this one.
No McCaffrey, Mike Davis in there. Does that mean Teddy Bridgewater's throwing 45 times, and do they have enough weapons to back up Bridgewater? Lions a stay away, or what do we do here? Cardinals overrated. They're 5.5.
This is like a nightmare game for me, an absolute nightmare game. Cardinals will look good. To me, they validated their first performance, obviously, with their second performance. I thought the Lions had something going. I think there's line value because I think the game against the Packers could have been better. So I like the Lions to be, an 8-8 kind of team. Like the Cardinals to be an 8-8, 9-7, but they were one of my sleeper picks. In fact, I may have even snuck them in there in that last playoff spot. Can't remember what we did here. I know I put them in the playoffs on one of the contests I did. Listen, the Cardinals are tough, and the Lions defense sucks. The 5.5 says to me, why isn't Vegas buying all the way in? So I kind of lean to the Lions. I think this is one that, comes down to a field goal one way or the other. So I would take the Lions and the points, but I'm not loving it.
Broncos and Buccaneers. Buccaneers on the road, -6. Broncos, no Drew Lock, no Courtland Sutton, no Von Miller. We'll see what happens with Lindsey, but limited in terms of the backfield. The defense obviously has taken a big hit. I'll take Broncos +6. Let's do it.
It's again, the number is sitting there at 6. That's like, but they showed hard against the Steelers, right? Jeff Driscoll is probably, and might be, certainly look better than Drew Lock at this point.
Dude, I don't think Driscoll is a big drop down from Lock. I don't know if he's ever going to be a starting quarterback, but there were people as he struggled at Florida, and I think most of it was coaching, who were like, this guy is a dude. Like, he can play. Again, Driscoll came in. The Steelers, didn't expect him to come in, so maybe they weren't ready for him. You could say, hey, there's more film on him, but we've got film on Driscoll, right? He played a lot last year. I don't think there's a big drop-off. Now, but here's the thing. Is Courtland Sutton that good that it's a giant factor? I will throw in, there has been a huge positive for the Broncos on offense. Noah Fant looks like he's going to be goddamn good, real good.
Yeah. And they're invested in him. I think Jerry Jeudy is good. I think they've still got depth at running back, obviously with Gordon. I actually think Royce Freeman can play. It's just a matter of not fumbling the ball. So I think they're fine in the backfield. I'm with you. I like the Broncos, or don't play it. But the Bucks, like, why I don't know. Like this just seems kind of scary, but look, everyone likes the Bucks. I like the Broncos. I think the whole world's going to be on the Bucks.
Godwin, good weapon back, important weapon back, and Len Fournette did show some explosion at the end.
Did Tom Brady?
Say it again.
Did Tom Brady show some explosion?
Not really. And
another shitty pick.
That was another one of those. I actually bet Panthers second half. And the Bucks did not put them away until a little bit later in the game. Like that was not, they got out to the big lead, but it wasn't like they had some great second half.
The Panthers, I think, had the ball down 7, didn't they?
Yeah. So
I don't know. I'm not convinced on the Buccaneers. I don't love the Broncos. I don't love betting a team that doesn't have a quarterback. So my official choice on this would be to stay away. But if you love the Broncos, I'll go down that road. I can't take the Bucks though.
That could be one of the picks. Massive games. Whew, these are tough decisions. Cowboys getting 6 at the Seahawks.
5.
Why did I say 6? 5. Yeah, 5. It's right there. Seahawks 5 against the Cowboys, and this is actually ticked up. It was at 4 to open.
Early money on the Seahawks. I mean, I know they were impressive against the Pats, but
are the Seahawks good on defense? Are they going to be able to slow down? Like, again, you don't play for backdoor covers, but can Dak stay in the game by pushing the ball down the field? I got to throw in there, CeeDee Lamb right now ain't no Jerry Jeudy. He catches the ball. He's really good.
yes.
Zeke's been good. Their O-line has beat the shit, so you got to check on the health of the O-line. I thought they were going to have a black hole at tight end. And then this guy Schultz steps up, and he had 9 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. And there was just enough protection that when it counted, Dak was able to push the ball downfield.
I listen, I love 5-point dogs, right? To me, there's a real statement there that they're not willing to get anywhere near a touchdown. I like 5-point dogs on the money line. And so I'm on the Cowboys on this one. I think the Seahawks played a Super Bowl type of mindset against the Patriots. I think they can come flat here. But then again, the Cowboys are due to come flat as well. That you get that kind of comeback. So it's a tough game. So I like the points. I'm with you. I think both teams can go up and down the field. So give me the points. I'll take the Cowboys.
And to who was saying the total just now? I just punched it up. Aaron Solgood. The total is 56. Total is 56. Rick is saying what? Over for the game with the first quarter under? I think that's what he's saying. All right. Maybe slow start and then it picks up. Okay, maybe. Packers money so far. Saints -3 against the Packers. This, I mean, traditionally, this is you're betting the Saints. You're betting the Saints unless you're freaking out about the way Drew Brees looked.
What do you think? I'm freaking out about the way Drew Brees looked.
We're gonna be split on this one. I would play the Saints.
I wouldn't play the Packers because I think the whole world should be on the Packers. And so I'd play the Saints, but I don't know that I can bring myself to play Drew Brees. I think, let's see the health line. Let's see everything that's coming. I think it's a good point. Quiet dome, home field's not what it was for New Orleans. I think it's a scary game. I think it's a scary game. I think they're wanting you to bet the Packers, though. Don't you think?
I think this is going to move off of 3.
To where?
To 2.5. I think there's going to be so much Packers money, so much overreaction. Maybe not, because I think Sharps will keep firing on the Saints. So they'll balance it out. But I think the public is going to, the volume on this, you may see like a 75% Packer number. It's too early.
Are the Packers the best team in the NFC?
No, I think the Seahawks are. The Seahawks were my pick. I think the Seahawks are, but they got to clean up the defense.
Okay.
Packers are good though.
They are good.
Maybe I underestimated Aaron Rodgers' max motivation coming into the year, and that stuff is important.
And think of how good they'd be if they didn't spend their first and second round pick on a couple of guys that are watching.
Be nice if they got some help, for Aaron Rodgers in terms of real weapons, or got more help on the O-line, or got more help on defense.
Last one.
Yeah, this is your game. This is the shining star of the week and the first half of the season. Ravens 3.5.
Chiefs have won this game against the Ravens each of the last 2 years, but both games have been played at home. They go to Baltimore. Baltimore's only had 2 home Monday Night Football games in Jim Harbaugh's career as the head coach of the Ravens. So he finally gets his 3rd one, and he has no fans or limited fans. Listen, the best quarterback in the league getting points. Like, if you could get Tom Brady in his prime, and I think the Chiefs are assuming the role of the Patriots with Tom Brady, if you could get the Patriots some points, wouldn't you take them?
Yes.
Yeah, so you take the Chiefs and the points, so you don't play it. Double revenge, unless you're one of those double revenge guys. Ravens have lost each of the last 2 years to the Chiefs. I think the Ravens look really good. The Ravens have been the more impressive team at this point, but I also think Andy Reid has been holding some stuff back and almost got stung against the Chargers. But I think there's more for Kansas City to show. I think it's the Chiefs who don't play.
God damn.
How do you get Patrick Mahomes in 3.5 and not go that high?
I wanted to double check on your no fans thing. You know the game, or this particular game more specifically than I do. But you're right.
I don't know about what's going on in Baltimore.
No. It's hard to track it every week because they keep changing, and this is when you got to pay attention. Weeks 3, 4, and 5. This is kind of where I don't know, about 70% of the league kind of targeted letting fans in, but yeah, there's not going to be fans. Eventually, the Ravens will let in about 17,000 fans, but yeah, the SI story I'm looking at here, no fans will be able to attend. That sucks.
Are you on that side? I know someone who is driving 2 hours to another state to be able to put down a large wager on the Chiefs.
To load up on the plus 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel strongly enough, if I can speak, strongly enough about it to play the Chiefs in the contest?
I do.
Hello. All right.
I told you, I think one scenario is, and we didn't do it from the beginning, is if you play the Chiefs all 16 games, you're going to have a winner.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be like 10-6. Now, that might blow up in my face, and we find out that, you know what, they couldn't handle the pressure because this is a franchise that's been called a doormat forever. Andy Reid's been called the guy who can't win the big game forever. And so they have no idea what's going on. But you know, I don't find that. Andy Reid can coach. Patrick Mahomes can throw. They have some pieces. They're banged up on defense, and we'll see what Sammy Watkins plays. I know that doesn't sound like a big thing, but he's way better than the next 2 guys, at least right now in their careers. And that gives them all the weapons. Kansas City's offense, number 13 in yards, number 9 in points against Houston and San Diego, or excuse me, LA. There's a lot to kind of scratch your head and be like, why aren't they better? But when they've needed it, the kid does it. And this is a game that all he has to do is be in position to drive down for a field goal, and he's there. The scary part is if they're down 4 or 5 and they have the ball, like if they don't cover, they'll have the ball at the 10, chasing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. Patrick Mahomes never lost by more than 1 score.
He's what is he, 6-0 now, straight up, down double digits? Is that correct?
Yes.
Because I did bet him. I think I bet him -10 in the second half, and they came through.
And before this last game, they'd won 7 consecutive games by double digits. 3 of those against playoff teams.
What negatives did you see? Like, what do the Chargers do right that other people could do right?
They got after Mahomes. They pressured the quarterback, and I think they Gus Bradley likes his cover 2, cover 3, deep stuff, and so he likes to take away Tyreek Hill. And even on Gus Bradley, the 54-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill, he had a safety back there. The safety just decided to pay attention to the tight end and took one step the wrong way, and Tyreek Hill's so fast he got open, and Mahomes is so good he hit him. That's the thing about the Chiefs. I've said it before. You can have the right side against the Chiefs and lose all the time because Reid is good enough to call up the plays. Mahomes is that good, but also the talent around him. Like Kelsey's a great tight end. Tyreek Hill's a great wide receiver. I mean, he's not a joke. I mean, Tyreek Hill is the fastest guy in the NFL, incredibly strong. He's, for a guy who's not big, he's one of the more intimidating or imposing physical specimens you've ever been around. His hamstrings look like flexed biceps. I mean, he is an athletic freak, and he works. I know all the off the field stuff overshadows this, but he works really hard at being a wide receiver. And there's a lot of Antonio Brown and Steve Smith in this kid. Yeah. And he's the real deal. And when Sammy Watkins is out there, Sammy Watkins is the perfect complement underneath. If he's there, Travis Kelce, Travis Kelce got the safety to look away from Tyreek Hill. That's how they beat him with the 54-yarder. I mean, Andy Reid can beat you, and then Patrick Mahomes can beat you when the play breaks down. And so there's a lot to like about him. The defense, listen, one big factor in why they didn't do better against the Chargers was Frank Clark got ill. I don't know if he has Crohn's. They never commit to what it is he has, but he has some kind of consistent stomach issue.
Really?
And that, yes. And he had happened in Seattle. It flared up last year. That's part of why his first half, that and a neck injury in the first half, he was battling that, which is something you'd like to know before you give a guy $100+ million. But that flared up with the Chargers. I am a little bit worried that that's like a 4 or 5 week thing and not just like, oh, is that day I don't feel good, but I feel great the next day. So I would watch what they say. If they don't bring Frank Clark to the podium, which they brought him to the podium last week, they probably won't. And this week, no, it's not assistant coaches week, so there should be more players. And they bring so few with the Zooms now, and you can't get into the locker room and talk to guys. So I am leery of that. But if he plays, if you get word that he's going to play, and he'll probably start the game because he's a warrior type guy, and he'll come out there. Frank Clark and Chris Jones provide enough pass rush, and the other guys do their job to protect their secondary. Charvarius Ward's one to watch. Is he going to play with a cast? He didn't play last week. So there's things to watch on their defense, but they're not good at stopping the run, but the Ravens aren't good at punching in touchdowns against teams that know what they're doing. So I take the points.
The first of probably 25 inane battles on air went down today with Adam Hill and myself on Ty God and Herbert. I was like, I told myself before the show, I'm not doing this. But I know it also provides good material from him. But his analysis was the game came down to one mistake by Herbert. I'm like, dude, I don't think you watched the game. It was a bad mistake. Throwing the interception was a bad mistake. I mostly blamed Anthony Lynn. Dude, you got to stop against the Chiefs with this fucking field goal, punting on fourth down shit and weak ass play calling when you have a chance to go for the jugular. And when they had the ball down the stretch and they're milking away the clock and they've got the ball at the 3-yard line, I think it was 4:33 left. And I mean, you guys are, I know Chiefs fans are laughing. They're like, really? This guy's just going to run. It's run, and then play action. And, Herbert did make the mistake, I think. He turned the wrong way in a play action. You got to be aggressive. So you got to be aggressive at the 4-yard line. And then you go to overtime and you do the same goddamn thing. And then as much as the Chargers defense was awesome throughout the game, on a 3rd and 22, for Mahomes to have the entire middle of the fucking field to run, 3rd and 20, to run 22 yards, I was like, oh my God. You don't have a spy on the guy at all? Come on.
I think that I give some credit.
The play calling, and even in overtime, you see what Andy Reid has the ball on a 4th and 1. He's like, let's go. And now he's got equity, and he's got the guy. And I know Lynn's got a rookie running back, but like Tony, you got to go for it against these guys.
Well,
you can't play the same way you do against the Bengals and the Broncos and the Raiders.
No, I agree with your point wholeheartedly. And we charted all the 4th downs. And actually, Kansas City put themselves in a really bad spot with a lot of 4th and long, so they couldn't go for it as much as they wanted to. And I thought Kansas City missed an opportunity in the first quarter, down 7-0. They had a 4th and 5 at their own 47. They didn't go for it. That's a spot they should go for. But to your point, 4th and 2 at the 50 on the next possession for Anthony Lynn, up 7-0. He's counting on his defense to win the game. Should have gone for it right there. The next one, and Eric Eager from Pro Football Focus backs you up, 4th and goal from the 5. 2.5 to go. They take the field goal. He said he would have gone for the touchdown right there. He said, you have to go for the touchdown right there because basically what you're doing is when you kick the field goal, you're playing for the tie because you have to assume at best the tie because Mahomes is going to go down the field. And to your point, Mahomes on the game-winning drive for the field goal, they converted a 4th and 1 at the KC 46 with a run play, and Anthony Lynn did not go for it on 4th and 1 where they ended up punting on his first drive, 4th and 1 from his own 34, and he gave the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. At some point in there, you go for all those. I think you're in a better position. I can't say 4th and goal from the 5. You don't take the field goal. I think
no, that's not my argument.
No, but Eagers is like even there.
All right.
Because if Mahomes, either way, Mahomes is going down. You're playing for the tie in that situation.
What's your what do you say all the time about throwing to do this and running to do this? What is it again?
Throw to win, run when you're winning.
Okay. So throw to win.
Yeah.
So when you get the ball at the 4-yard line and there's 4.5 minutes left in the game, and the current god of quarterbacks, the comeback king, is on the other side, go for a touchdown. Frankly, on all 3 plays, and it's by the way, it's a tie game. So if you throw an interception, unless it's a fucking 98-yard pick six, you're going to be okay. Go for it.
The bottom line is the recipe for beating the Chiefs in that situation should be followed by what the New England Patriots did in the AFC Championship game. They won the coin toss, and they made sure that Patrick Mahomes didn't get the ball.
But I will say, God.
Well, when you sit Joey Bosa for 5 consecutive plays because he's exhausted, you can't say I'm going to leave it to my defense. Right? That's what they did at the end of regulation.
And I will say that the game plan in general was solid. The fact that I think they had 39 carries between Eckler and Josh Kelly, and Kelly didn't gain a lot of yards, but you played keep away. But when now the game plan has changed. You're in a position to win. You know who Mahomes is. You know who that offense is. Get the win. Come on.
Yes, you have to go for it.
Very frustrating.
That 4th and 1 for sure.
Very frustrating if you're a Chargers fan. All right, everybody, we're gonna wrap it up. So I don't know if we made any official picks there, but we'll have picks later in the week and good stuff on the media stuff. So thanks for checking in. What do you got going on the rest of the week, Petro?
I don't have anything.
No?
I'm going to mail it in. I'm going to full-on half-ass it from here on out. We'll talk Chiefs-Ravens in our show the whole week. That dominates. Anything we're going to talk about next year with the Royals?
We have
crap the bed tonight in another game, so that's not going to get any attention.
We will do.
We do have. Here's one for you. We do have K-State getting 28 from Oklahoma as they get into the real part of their schedule, and KU getting 16 from Baylor, and Missouri getting 27.5 from Alabama. So we got some humdingers with the local college squads.
Nice. We have 7 hours to go in the week. We will spend 6.5 on Justin Herbert, Drew Brees, and Josh Allen suck.
Okay.
I don't know. You know what? I'll correct myself. I forgot. Friday, Adam may or may not be at Adam Hill, so that could change. But tomorrow we're at Silver 7, so if you're in Vegas, come by. The bars are open. They have draft beers for $277. They got the distancing. It's good to go. They've got good TV setups. Listen, it was already in place. It's a weird coincidence, but I will be doing the show live from the Corona Cantina.
That works.
I mean,
my big sponsors.
But I love Silver Sevens. It's actually a local bar. It used to be Terrible's. Before that, it was a Continental where you could get like a $2.99 filet and egg. So I love that place. It's at
who was the guy who used to play that? Cookie Jar?
Cookie Jar. Yep. With COVID, I don't know where Cookie is. I think he was playing inside at Harrah's. He bounced over to Harrah's after that. But no, classic Cookie Jar was upstairs at, I think it was sort of a bar at Continental, but it was also like a storage room. So there were fucking chairs and like banquet tables everywhere. And Cookie's got his karaoke machine. That place was awesome. Back to the day. I stayed one time at Continental, so it was fun.
as you should.
I try to stay at every classy place in Vegas. So there you go. All right, everybody. We appreciate you guys sticking around. And for KC people, check in with us 5 days a week. Tomorrow is our legal broadcast or legal podcast with Justin Watkins from Battleborn Injury Lawyers. That's always pretty enjoyable and more